West Tigers TV, this is Claws Out, the coach's report live from the mic'd up studio in Parramatta. Just about 25 minutes after a breathtaking wild win for the West Tigers over the Titans, 36 points to 28. I'm joined by the main man, Adel. We both made it for the 6:30 kickoff, mate. Lucky we won because emotions were running high.
Oh, I mean, temperament from my perspective has always been that it sort of doesn't really matter if we win or lose. But, yeah, that was a phenomenal end to the game, wasn't it? And I think that was one of our best victories. I know that automatically people look at the who we played and whatnot, but it's a bigger picture than that. And, it's a pretty impressive win from my perspective.
What a day of live sport, by the way. I don't want to change tack, but you get that dramatic NBA Finals game, Knicks break a 53-year drought, then the Socceroos upset Turkey, and then a Leichhardt Oval thriller. Have you left your couch all day?
I actually was. I just got home today. Like I watched the back end of the Socceroos game, and then I actually didn't watch the first 15 minutes of our game, and then I literally just watched it on the way sort of home now. So, it's been a big day for me, but yeah, that was a great finish, wasn't it?
Do you miss Leichhardt Oval on days like today? Obviously farewelling it for 18 months, which time will fly by, but being in that crowd in the last 20 minutes would have been pretty special.
To be honest with you, I really struggled with the fact that I wasn't going to be there today. I know we've talked about the fact that I make the effort always to fly down to Sydney, but yeah, the fact that I wasn't going to get there today, it didn't sit well with me, but it is what it is.
Well, you like team players, Coach. I'm a team player. I took the hit for the team and came here today instead of going to Leichhardt Oval, but Rob, Steve and Gary, they took all the glory, so they'll be here in about an hour, and I'll get their report when they finally arrive. But your main emotion first, not as a coach, but as a fan, I think I threw up a few words last time. Is it, are you proud, are you elated, are you relieved, or are you extra combative like you were last time?
Yeah, I'm a bit combative today. I mean, in the words of Jerome Law, I shut the fuck up.
Well, let's go there straight away because that I just said to you just before we started, I mean, recency bias, it's 20 minutes after the game, but I don't think I can remember a performance by a Tigers player in the last decade as dominant as that. And his hat-trick there, like you said, that was a big fuck you to our fans. Shut the fuck up. And, like, you can't paint it any other way. People haven't asked him about it yet, but how could you see it any other way?
Yeah, and then the reality is, the attitude, I've got to give, before we go past, we get into that, I'm going to give us, and I think, like obviously I'm someone who's been a big supporter of Jerome, but I think from our perspective as a podcast and what we've been doing, it tells me that we are not biased, we're very objective in how we criticise and how we look at the players, right? I think one thing about us as a team, myself, you, Junior, Senior, Steve, and Gary, is we put our emotions aside and we judge every player every week. Too many of our fans, and I've been very critical of this, too many of our fans, I think, take it personal and take the personal approach and have with Jerome and have done that ever since. I mean, obviously we know a lot of them have never liked him to start with, but obviously since the PNG deal and the PNG decision was made, and they've gone way past over the line. And my thing at the moment is I watch that performance today and I just sit there and go, I just shake my head. And I just think the behaviour and the attitudes and the way he's been spoken about ever since he's come to our club, really, he's been judged in a different way. And the expectations are about the fact that he was paid so much money, that he didn't pay himself. He was given that money to come to our club, to be a part of our club. And yes, we haven't achieved nothing, Luke Keary, but not all of us get in a position where we get to go to a prestige club where, there's unlimited salary cap. But what he's been able to do, regardless of what people's opinions are, is been able to make us into a side that at this stage in a season where we've been decimated by injuries, we are sitting above 50% win record. And I'll be forever indebted to him as a West Tigers fan, and I'd like to think everybody else will start to give him that respect for the rest of this year and for the rest of next year. Because if you ever thought about him going to PNG already, well, today, you know what he told you to do? Go read his lips.
Do you think, I downplayed it at the time, I don't want to get sidetracked by it, but do you think it possibly played a factor? Because players are human and they do hear the criticism, and even though if you're on $1.2 million a year, you could tell by his reaction today, he's been hurting.
Well, of course he's been hurting. I mean, don't forget, this is a guy that left his childhood club, the club he's been at since he was a kid, made a big decision to come to our club. He came to our club. He could have chosen other clubs. I've talked about this before. And then basically, it's almost like you've come to our club, but you owe us something. Anyways, you're right. Let's not get too far into it because it'll get me all fired up all over again.
But his game itself, it was quite unbelievable. 13 runs, 7 tackle breaks, 3 tries, 2 line breaks. He took the hit up from the very first kickoff. Do you think that was a statement?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. Watching it back, I think it was just that was what was needed from that. But he can only ever answer that question. But it wasn't the numbers for me today. It was the decision making. It was some of those moments, especially in the back end of the game, where he knew how to seal that game. He knew how to finish that game off, and he did it in a perfect manner from my perspective. So, mate, I'm actually like, as much as I'm happy for the club and I'm happy for us and I'm happy for our fans, I'm so happy for him.
Just back on Leichhardt Oval, because we won't get to talk about it much in the last 18 months, but I don't know. And I get negative during games, but it's the one ground where, and I'm only watching on the TV today, but when we got back to 24-18, you could hear the crowd get into the game. And it's the one crowd where I feel like it almost does lift the players.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I think that the players have always talked about it. I mean, it's something that we need to be always, and I think the players are always told to be very delicate about because I know for a fact the players love playing at Leichhardt. If they had a choice, they'd play every week at Leichhardt. And, there's players from other teams that talk about how much they love playing at Leichhardt. But from our perspective, I think it's going to be something we're going to miss.
Well, there is potential to play every home game there in 2028, so bring that on if that is the case. But, Coach, let's rip into the game. The first 5 minutes of the game, I thought there was really good energy. There was a response, probably the response that Benji wanted. No tries on the board, but we're winning that field possession, and there was some strong running out of our own end.
Yeah, I think and we talked about it before. I think if you can get a balanced start to a game and you can get at least equal possession, well, it allows you to build into your football, and that was what we were allowed today. And to be fair, most of the times when we play at Leichhardt, we do get a little bit of those calls, and we don't get put in that position. But, yeah, it was a good start intent-wise. You could still see there was a little bit of tentativeness around how we were playing. There was also, a young kid on debut playing, probably the most important position on the field. So, yeah, it was important for us to have a solid start. I don't think we needed to start, like a house on fire, but we started well, and I think I think you'll get to that in a sec, but we got the rewards of that early.
Yeah, 13th minute, Strathfield Toa opened the scoring. It was a left shift about 5 metres out. Luai looked like he was going to shape and pass the baller, but hits Talon May, who passes it on to Strathfield Toa, who bumps off the winger and runs around closer to the post.
Yeah, I'm guessing they obviously. I mean, that's always going to be our strong side, our left side. But it looked to me like there was the young winger Jensen for the Titans was a little bit of a target for them. But again, you go back to Jerome and you watch the time, and I know you and I have talked about it before that those players that show that they've got a little bit more time than everybody else just look that class above. And if you watch it carefully, he slows his body. He almost sits with the ball just sitting in front of him for like a second or two where he's like, you guys make a decision defensively and then I'll pick my option. And he did that perfectly, didn't he?
We've had slow starts a lot of times this year, but Benji would have to be happy with that first 25 minutes. Even though it was only 6-0, I think we were completing at 94%. A lot of the outside backs, I think Taruva had 8 carries in that first 20 minutes. Patrick Herbert had some strong carries, and even Vanua Pole off the bench, I think, came on after about 15 minutes, had a couple of strong carries.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's possession, it's confidence, it's completing, decently. All that sort of stuff is really, really important to make sure that people can start to play on the front foot and have that confidence. I mean, if you're defending for 10 out of the first 15 minutes of a game, you're going to struggle. And that's what the last few weeks have looked like. Today there was that little bit of a balance, which meant the boys could get into their football early, which was positive for us to see.
Well, possession and territory finally starts to pay off, Coach, in the 27th minute because we make it 12-0. I think it was the third time Madden put up a bomb targeting Kinney and getting Buller running through, and it was the third time Buller competed. He nearly scored off the first two, but this time Kinney makes the error. Buller rips it out of his hand, and Talon May scores. That was a clear tactic going into the game.
You'd like to think it would have been, but yeah, that's the reality for us is Jareem is our most potent strike weapon in our team. And today he just looked like a class above everybody else. I mean, besides Jerome, him and Jareem were our most dangerous players. And when Jareem's feeling that confidence and that having got that little bit of bounce of his step, especially when he's coming up against a fullback who doesn't necessarily have a big leap on him, you can take use of that, and he did that today.
I know in the past you said it's not necessarily a huge advantage having the wind, but I know what it's like at Leichhardt Oval on those windy afternoons. There's always a huge breeze blowing down towards Leichhardt Pool. So we had that breeze in the first half, and being 12 up after 25 minutes, everything was going perfectly to plan at that stage.
Yeah, it was a good start, wasn't it? And that's always going to be the challenge for us is the old us, which I know Benji doesn't like to talk about, and I've sort of not liked to talk about, but you got to start talking about it right now, because the reality is we're starting to look that, we're starting to have that in us again because of the fact that we don't have our top 17 or 18 players. So, it's always been an Achilles heel in the past, hasn't it? That we can get off to a good start, score some points, but then we can concede some points in bunches. So that happened to us, and lead up to half time, didn't it?
Sure did. 31st minute against the runner play, the Titans hit back, although there were a couple of warning signs before that, Coach. I think they already led the line breaks 3-1 before they opened their account, but it was a Beau Fermor offload. Kinney, Brimson, Campbell, they got some outstanding attacking players. They all combine, which sets up their first try of the afternoon.
Yeah, that was poor marker play by our two markers. That's you can't allow them to sort of come back through around where the middle of where you are is, and you've got to be a little bit more connected around that marker play. But yeah, look, that was going to be always our challenge today with having young Giuseppe and then Latu coming on at 9. I seen there was a bit of criticism of Latu today. It's why it's hard to ask people. I know earlier in the year we were wanting Latu to play 9, and there's times people have asked for Jock to play 9. It's not as simple as just saying go out in the middle of the field and make some tackles. It's a pretty tough job, and I thought he had a pretty tough day at it today, but. We're asking him to play a role he doesn't normally play as a 9 there. So, especially with the lack of experience he might have in and around him with no Uppy, no Twali, those sort of guys. So, yeah, big challenge for him. But that first try was, just the poor marker play, and then Latu got lazy, caught on the other side of the ruck there.
Obviously, there were some late changes. I assume Benji had let the boys know on Tuesday exactly what's happening, but explain the reasoning behind those changes. Tristan Hope plays State Cup. Young Lanyon actually comes in and starts at 9, and Bunty starts the game with Fanua going back to the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the Bunty Fanua thing would be is if you're sitting from a bench perspective, you try to work out your rotations and try to work out who's going to be on the field at the same time. So they would have thought to themselves, from a Fanua perspective and a Terrell May perspective, they're their only two real mainstream front rowers left. So I'm guessing Benji wanted to have always one of them on at a specific time. So that's my theory around it, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know if it's the way they went about it. Giuseppe, well, I just think it's got to a stage where, from Tristan Host's perspective, and it's sad and disappointing to say this, I just think they've realised that, unfortunately, he's just not up to playing first grade at this time in his career, and they just decided that they were going to give the older, younger kid, obviously the other one being Jared Haywood, they're going to give the older, young kid an opportunity and see how he goes. And I love the fact that Benji started him. I think sometimes with rookies, it's easy to sort of put them on the bench and try to think you're going to protect them, but I think it's sometimes a little bit easier to just say, just get out there and, enjoy your footy, play your footy, no pressure on you, just go do it.
I don't know if this generation gets nervous anymore, but I imagine there would have been a combination for young Giuseppe of excitement and nerves. What did you make of his first 30 minutes? Because he had a really strong run out of dummy half off a quick play the ball, but he also did have that error. I think it was off a poor play the ball by Terrell May deep in the red zone.
You know what? I think the beauty for what I've seen from him today was it seemed like less was more for him today.
That's what we wanted out of Tristan Hope, didn't we?
Yeah, potentially. Look, I mean, I'm never going to be that person to put comparisons. At times there, he looked like when Uppy just sits there and plays out a dummy half and gives decent service, that's what he looked like he did. So, yeah, look, I mean, it doesn't matter what he did today, in my opinion. I was never going to judge him. I'm pleased for him that his first game in first grade, he got a win, and that's all you got to do now. And you work into next week, and he'll probably get another opportunity next week, which will be exciting.
Okay, well, after 35 minutes, the Titans go back-to-back. They levelled the scores. It was another slashing try. I think it was Pascoe got out of dummy half, puts an offload away to a rampaging Kinney, who I think throws an outrageous no-look flick to someone who went under the post to make it 12-all.
Yeah, I think it was Curtis Moran.
That's it, the great Curtis Moran was, sorry.
Yeah, again, that's a little bit of poor... That's poor A, B, C defending from a little bit of an experience there, especially I think Latu was one that bit on one of the plays, and Sione sort of got caught not defending his inside shoulder. And, I think the Titans sort of must have got a little bit of an observation that our middle of the field started to get a little bit weary at back into that first half, and they really went after us in that middle of the field. And, Kinney's a very, very dangerous player. I've heard that, from people that he's just even though he's very small, he's very hard to tackle. So, and his leg speed sort of makes him a pretty tough moving target. So, yeah, they're the sort of tries the Titans can score when we see them do it to the Broncos last week.
There's something about that style of fullback that troubles us. I mean, obviously he's just such a really talented player that runs the ball hard. But I think Falago only lasted about 30 minutes against us for Melbourne, but he was tearing us up. Was there something there that maybe Josh Hannay would have identified? Because I think he was really sniffing around the middle of the ruck to try to break our middle there.
Well, I don't think from a planning perspective it would have been about Kinney specifically. What would have been instructed to Kinney was when we look to attack the middle, you make sure you're there. And you make sure you're able to capitalise on any sort of opportunity and try to anticipate where there's a little bit of space in the middle. We want the ball in your hand. So that would have been from a instruction perspective. But no, it must have been that they just decided that, sometimes when people think about going through the middle of teams, sometimes the way you do it is you go wide to come back through the middle. And I think at times that's what they look to do, the Titans. And, yeah, they did a good job to capitalise on it. On us in that back end of the first half.
Well, it's rinse repeat a few minutes before half time. The Titans ripping us apart. It was, I think, AJ Brimson this time might have thrown the short ball to Kinney, who goes through again, who passes this to Aruma Howe, I think, and makes it 18 points to 12. Was there anyone at fault there? It's tough asking you, 20 minutes after a game when there's so many tries in the games we review.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing, mate, to be honest with you. It's that middle of the field. It's that what they'll be disappointed about the coaches from that is you can miss tackles, which I think they missed. I think
we had 19 missed tackles at halftime, which isn't an outrageous stat. But that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, like, what would Benji be sort of thinking there? Not necessarily what he'd say at halftime, but he would surely be thinking, we've done so much right here. We've completed at 95%. We had 19 out of 20 at halftime, and we're leading 12-0, but then suddenly we go in 18-12. Does that show the team's still frail, or there's just little fundamentals and 1%ers that we have to really clean up if we want to be a better side?
No, I think it's as simple as this, and you won't hear this from Benji because he won't want to make excuses. It's regardless today that we won the game or not, we have at this stage of the season 6 or 7 players in our team that are not first grade standard. They're admirable. They're doing a good job. They're going to have the odd game here and there that are going to play well, but they're just not up to it. And it doesn't matter to me that we lost today. This is a reality, and these are the sort of guys that when they're asked to play week in, week out are going to struggle. Like we've said previously, playing at Leichhardt Oval, just you find another gear, and I don't think we win that game today. It's not at Leichhardt Oval. So, I'm happy for those guys, but that's the reality of it for me. All our weaknesses at the moment are coming from the fact that we have guys who are not week in, week out first graders in our team.
And we just can't catch a break because every time we get someone back, we lose someone. Like, we're going to lose KPP for the season. I think that was a bicep or a pec or something like that. Like, that's like we just cannot catch a break. And I know coaches don't dwell on bad luck, and Benji will be the first to go through the normal process on the Monday, but it's going to kill our chances in the end of making the 8, isn't it?
I mean, potentially. It probably will. But yeah, until we know the full extent of it, it's hard to sort of judge. I mean, we all thought Taylor was out for the year.
Peck's a bit different, though, when you walk off like that after 10 minutes. Like, you could tell he was in agony.
Yeah, and potentially. I mean, that's why, I always sit there and say, but it'll also define a little bit of who we are. And I know we don't want to sit there and, write off the season, especially after a win, but sometimes if you can show that little bit of toughness and resilience when these things are happening, and you can still sort of scrape some ugly wins and win some games and lose some games here and there, basically what it does is it builds a bit of confidence for you moving forward. And I know that's not a consolation considering we're hoping to make the 8 this year. Um, it's a tough one, but yeah, you just got to ride every week as it comes now, to be honest.
Boys go into halftime. Somehow they're down 18-12. What do you think, Benji? Obviously, we've got no idea, but what might he have talked about? I know you've said in the past that usually they're just looking at some of the stats and addressing some KPIs of what went right and wrong in that first half. Is there anything particularly he would have been disappointed with in that first half, trying to adjust to?
Yeah, what he would have asked the players is all those tries that were scored. I think besides the Jaden Campbell one, the first one, that was just poor principles defensively. I mean, the Jaden Campbell one is basically Jock sort of gets caught in the middle of nowhere, tries to make the tackle with, I think, Patrick Herbert on the outside, and they sort of let Fermor be free to offload in the tackle. So besides that, everything else, you'd be sitting there going, well, hang on. We can live with us making mistakes. We can live with us missing tackles, but are we following our defensive principles? And they weren't. So that's the sort of questions he would have asked at half time. He would have challenged the players and said, if you can do this sort of thing and complete this sort of number and keep equal possession, we might be a chance. But yeah, that was a topsy turvy game today. So it would have been a hard halftime chat to have, to be honest.
When you say topsy-turvy, I'm interested to get your opinion whether you thought it was a high-standard game or a low-standard game, because both teams were completing over 90% and it was very entertaining, or do you think it was sort of a little bit you score, we score sort of mentality from both sides?
I think that both teams struggle to defend their errors, which sometimes in those games where there is a bit of quality, and I think we've mistaken that for a little bit of, it's the rules thing, but I don't. I think sometimes when games are of good quality and both teams are completing, what happens is you understand the responsibility of getting that opportunity to attack a try line, and you can capitalise on it. The conditions looked very heavy today at Leichhardt, which is unusual for Leichhardt Oval.
I don't know if there were games played on it beforehand. Usually there's not. I'll have to ask the boys when they come in.
There was no game. There was no games before, but obviously living up here, I'm not sure what the weather's been like in Sydney the last couple of days, but it seemed like it was a heavy track today as well. So that may have played a bit of a part in that as well.
Well, Coach, it was a terrible start to the second half. I think there was a really poor decision, although we did have a challenge up our sleeves. I don't know why Dream Buller didn't challenge that error where there was clearly kicked out from dummy half, 10 metres out from our own line. But in the 43rd minute, I thought the writing was on the wall. It was a beautiful short ball from Zane Harrison to put over Bo Firma, who almost goes over untouched between Madden and one of the outside men.
Yeah, that was actually the fact that you scramble defensively in that situation, and our numbers were just absolutely stripped. The pass sort of beats our numbers, and Harrison's caught the ball already outside of where he wants to get to. So it was just a fact of he could have taken probably 2 or 3 different decisions with his pass there, and they were going to score. So, yeah, that's one of those things where you start looking at your defensive system and you start to ask some really important questions. I think where we can be better, and we don't do it well enough, is on our try line. If we are ever in that position, there's got to be something to stop us from getting caught out, and that is by giving a 6 to go away and slowing the ruck down so we can travel a little bit defensively.
Would you have just almost a code word for that as a defensive line to call out?
Yeah, you're supposed to, and they might have that, and they might have tried to do it and it didn't work. But yeah, those sort of things shouldn't happen in the modern day with the way the defensive systems work. Is you shouldn't get skinned like that defensively.
All right. Well, in the 49th minute, we hit back. It's Jerome Luai a try. Statement kick, really. He kicks the ball into the crowd after he scores a try, and that was the start of the comeback.
Yeah, and a little bit of the intent of when he caught the ball, he just went direct straight to the line, and I'm not sure if he come into the game with that mentality today, but it just looked like at times there today he really wanted to challenge the line. And in that moment there, he just took off and exploded through that gap, and yeah, it was a big boost for us, wasn't it?
Absolutely. But just on the performance of the other half today, Jock Madden, I think he, from memory, only got one kick wrong that went a couple of yards with the wind in the first half for a 7-tackle set. But most of his midfield bombs or attacking bombs seem to be reasonably on point.
Look, I've said this from the start of the year. I don't know what people want Jock to play like. Like, I don't expect him to play at a certain level, and I don't expect him to be. This is why I've always said I don't expect him to be our starting half. The reality is, people like Jock Madden, Kyle Flanagan, trying to think of some other players, where they're solid halves, right? I used to say this about Jackson Hastings a lot. People used to rap Jackson Hastings, but Jock Madden, these are the sort of guys that what they try to do is they try to do things that to not do things wrong. Well, we, as a football side, the reason why someone like Adam Dewey is great for us to have in the halves is because, one, he's a running threat, which Jock isn't, and two, they're the sort of players that go after the game. They're happy to make an error, but they're going to go put pressure on the opposition. Jock doesn't do that. I don't expect anything more than what Jock's giving us at the moment. So I'm not going to criticise his performance. I'm going to be disappointed with some of the things he does. But when I do that, I sort of think to myself, well, hang on, you can't expect that more than him, because that's who he is. That's what he's here at the club to do, to be a backup, not to be our 7 week in, week out. It's not easy for him.
I thought his energy was really high today. He looked desperate. He looked out on his feet on a couple of times, Jock, but he was actually the architect of the try that levelled the scores at 24 all. He maybe identified a slightly lazy defender on the inside hitting Seyfarth, but physicality of Seyfarth there was impressive. I know it was only Ollie Pascoe that he run over, but he, run him basically down Mary Street and scored under the post.
Look, Eddie, I'm not going to – this is the one moment we're not going to let anybody else take the shine off an all-time GOAT try from Alex Seyfarth. For all the criticism of Paul Bloke cops, we're not giving anybody else credit. We're saying it was Payne Haas, Jason Taumalolo-like in his prime from Alex Seyfarth, and he scored. And you know what? Like, once again, I thought he had a really good game today, and that's what we've seen from Seyfarth over the last 4 or 5 years. He'll have his one good game every 5 weeks. I don't expect him to have a great game next week. But today, let's give him his flowers, and let's replay that try every single day this week.
But it wasn't just that try. I thought there were moments in the first half. I don't know whether it's just his body language catches my eye, but he was really trying to lift the boys. And I think generally his discipline's been better this year. He has had some poor games of late dropping off tackles. He might have done that again today, but I agree with you. I thought it was one of his better games.
But he can perform like that. I think as long as he keeps his head screwed on and he doesn't get emotional. Oh, why do I do this to myself? My day just got ruined because I'm reading the chat. I shouldn't read the chat.
Or do you want to call someone out or not? May as well, Coach. It's your show. Come on.
No, I'm not going to call it, because you know what? They're oxygen thieves. There's a couple of them.
Yep.
And let's not give a man time. I shouldn't have even acknowledged it.
Well, they might not even support our club. They might just be
no,
Penrith fans like last week or something.
They support our club. They've got Tigers things all over them, but they're just probably virgins that live in their mum's basement or something. But anyways.
56 minute, it was a good challenge from Tito Taruva. He had an interesting few minutes, though, Coach, because he made a good challenge. I think they ruled he knocked it on, but the Titans actually knocked it on. But then he does everything right in terms of putting his foot over the touchline, but then forgets the rule, which probably can happen when you're in that split-second decision, and the Titans get a dropout from that.
Yeah, and that's, the reality is you've got to be able to defend those sort of mistakes, because if you do that, well, then all of a sudden that error no longer counts. But, yeah, he's got to know the rule there. It's got to be much better.
60th minute, the Titans go back in front, 28-24. Was this maybe a little bit of a panic from our right-hand side defence because Beau Fermor's had such a big game, because they sort of seem to strip us of numbers pretty easily there, and Philip Sami goes in the corner?
Yeah, I think it was the complete opposite, actually. I think we were a little bit passive. Right. I think if you start when the ball is played, if you can get high off the line as quick as you can, that can almost take away a little bit of the time of the ball players and the decision-making. I think the lack of aggression early in the play, so from the play the ball, meant that later on we started to be a little bit positive, but a little bit later. I think Tito jammed really late to try to put pressure on the pass, but it's good execution from the Titans. And, yeah, Sammy scores in the corner.
I actually enjoyed the referee's performance today. I don't want you to get you sidetracked on referees, given what's happened with Ashley Klein this week, but he mainly stayed out of the game. It makes a difference when referees stay out of the game and only rule, a couple of 6 against to each side. Just manage the game. It's not a perfect game, rugby league coach. It's there to be managed, not, nitpick all afternoon. There's my rant for the day.
I think if they just understand, right, if they understand that they have an influence on the game, especially early on, right? If you don't get a feel for the game, and in the first set of 6 on tackle 4 and 5, and this is where I'm being critical of referees, if they don't go, oh, that could have been a 6 to go, but you know what, I'll let it go and I'll give them a bit of a warning, which I think they're starting to do. They're starting to say, let's not get nitpicky with this sort of stuff, right? The game can be a little bit more even, and we can allow the players to dictate how the result goes. But, yeah, let's not talk about referees. But I thought he was okay today. I'm not going to say he was good. He was okay.
Well, I was going to have a rant about Ashley Klein, but, the less said, the better about that because, how could you let a guy ref for 3 or 4 years when they're...
You guys should talk about that on the Claws Out tonight.
Oh, honestly. I know Junior wants to talk about it. I'm not sure if he's on, but maybe I'll try and fire Senior up tonight about that. But... Coach, there was, I won't say turning point because you hate that word, but I think we got a penalty or the Titans went for a challenge, which was a poor challenge by Philip Sami. And we go down the other end, and in the 70th minute, it was a double for Jerome Luai. I think it was Jareem Buller trying to throw a bit of a Harbour Bridge ball because the winger looked free and the Titans bat it down, but ended up batting it back into the in goal, and Luai follows through and puts us in front in the 70th minute.
Yeah, well, can we go a step back? I know you don't want to talk about Ashley Klein. I didn't understand how they challenged
inconclusive.
Ashley Klein says he pushes him in the back, but it's inconclusive and they keep the challenge.
But I don't know if that was true because your mate Andrew Voss was calling the game and trying to be a comedian for half the game, but I don't know if he didn't pick up on that, but he said in the last 10 minutes the Titans still have their challenge, but I don't think they did because they had a knock on. And they didn't challenge it at all, which I thought was a 50-50 one. But
I think they thought they lost the challenge.
Yeah.
But Ashley Klein, because he
How
hates
is that
us,
inconclusive? Philip Sami just pushed him in the back.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Remember, that's the same referee that said it was an escort against AJ Kapoa when the years we didn't know what he was being up to. But anyways.
Yeah, well, if you're losing 40 grand on the horses, you're going to... Anyway, I don't want to get into
400 grand. Eddie, get it right, please.
70th minute, like I said, Jerome Luai puts us back in front. I think Buller, he identified that Titans were a little bit short, tried to get the ball over the top of the Titans winger. Titans winger has to bat it down, and Luai follows up, scores.
Yeah, a little bit of good luck. But I think Jareem is starting to really evolve that ball-playing game, and he's going to get better and better at doing it. He frightened them today. They were scared of Jareem. I think he was the one player that they probably Jerome was the most influential player on today's game, but I think that was a little bit to do with the fact that you could tell the Titans were a little bit tentative every time Jareem got the ball. They really got scared. So, I'm again another one at the start of this year who was criticised by our fans because they felt like we're entitled to force him to sign with us, and I'm just happy that he's able to play his football, enjoy his football, and he's injury-free.
I think the word great gets thrown around too much in professional sport as it is. But, I wouldn't say Jerome Luai is a great footballer. He's an elite footballer. He's an elite. He's in the top 5 or 10% of the competition. Is Jareem Buller already an elite fullback?
He's very close to it. I'm not going to say he's an elite fullback yet, but he's on the brink. That's for sure.
Now, a few weeks ago, you said in one of your games, players can become unplayable if they make 2 or 3 errors out of their own end. And the only time I lost my rag today sitting in the studio with Dan is when Fanua Pole dropped the ball in the 73rd minute. And I think he had a really good game and some strong carries off the bench, but you just can't drop that ball, man. We just hit the front 30-28 and we could have controlled the game at the end, but Pole puts it down.
Look, knowing how they're very diligent with this sort of stuff in review, it's important for someone like Fanua because he can make that error is in that moment, as much as you hate it and as much as you're frustrated and as much as a coach you get angry, you've got to find a way to make sure that it doesn't stay in his head because he does make those errors.
And it stayed in his head, I reckon. I think that's one of the things he struggled with the past couple of years. Confidence.
Yeah, because and that happens again. They're human beings. Like if you make the same error over and over again, you sort of, even though the game's going on, you sort of sit there going, "Oh no." You know, we've talked about this with the coaches, my attack coach, my skills coach, our head coach. Oh no, what does this mean? While the game's actually still going, all this stuff's going on in your head. So, yeah, I just
made us sweat the last 7 minutes.
No, I just read the chat again.
Same culprit or different culprit?
No, our mate's here. He's arrived.
Good. I thought it was a good decision in the 76th minute to take the tap when we get the penalty in front, because in this day and age, a 2-point lead, you don't want to take him back to the halfway and risk a short kickoff. Like if it was a 4-point lead, coach, I would 100% say take the 2 and get to a 6-point lead, because then they have to kick the goal. But when you're only 2 up, I thought that was a smart, and you could tell Madden and Luai discussed it and thought, no, even if we don't score, let's make the Titans go 95 metres if they want to do something.
I liked how they had the discussion. I liked how they made the decision. And then I liked the fact that, okay, and it was Jock was the one that made the decision. And I thought to myself, okay, good. Like, he will control this set.
You were on the fence about that decision, were you?
I would have taken the 2, 100%.
Is that only because the 2-point field goal rule?
No, I always take the 2 there. I mean, at the end of the day, I turn around and I say to my team, you take the 2 and you show that you're a quality football side and you complete that set, you kick it downfield and you make them come at you. And the reality is 4 points to 2 points. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you where the other difference is. If they score a try, the Titans, and we're up by 2, the game's over.
But my argument is they don't have a chance to score a try if they're 95 metres out if we do everything right. But it almost goes to a coin flip, a short kickoff, and you go, Jesus, they could have the ball 40 metres out.
Well, the previous week, the Broncos were up by 1, and the Titans, from inside their 5, did a chip and chase on tackle 5 to win the game. You can never... The field position is important, except in the last 5 minutes, because reality is they're going to play. The teams prepare this. They do 2 and 5 minute drills, attack-wise, to prepare how to play from behind.
It was a pretty ordinary couple of sets of 6 we had on their line. I felt like yelling out, boys, do you know we're in front by 2, not behind by 2? Because there was a speculator out of dummy half that hit the ground and went backwards. There were a couple of floating passes. What's the mindset there? Because obviously you want to still try and score. You just don't want to completely shut up shop with 3 minutes to go. But there were times there where I just felt, and Jerome did well on the last tackle, where I thought he was going to come back open side and he ended up just going the blind and putting a little grubber in that lands, half a metre out.
I think my voice has gone here, so I'm going to need you to carry me.
I'll keep going for a minute. But I just thought that was 2 or 3 minutes where I think Tigers fans on the hill, coach, would have had their heart in their mouth, because I don't know if it was young Lanyon out of dummy half. I know he was back on the field at the end, but there was one ball that went behind Terrell May, and he was like the Queen Mary turning around. He was pretty tired in the 78th minute. I thought, Jesus, why are we trying speculators and offloads with a minute or 2 to go?
Oh, mate, you know what? Our last couple of minutes is a bit like my voice right now. I don't know why it's gone, but no, what I was going to say is I think they started to stress the pressure of the last few weeks.
Yeah.
What's going on with my voice? Can someone tell me?
Do you want to go and get a drink of water? I'll keep going for a minute or 2.
I've actually been drinking water for the last minute and it still hasn't done anything. So,
well,
maybe a bit of emotion in my voice at the moment.
Bit of relief in my voice. 80th minute, Jerome Ruluai, the try actually reminded me, it was almost the same sequence and the same side of the field. I don't know if you remember the Tedesco try against North Queensland where he dances, beated about 8 players, and Jerome was just like, even before he gave the big fuck you to our fans behind the ground, he was just like, I'm going over here.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, I'm probably Jerome's biggest fan. It wasn't as good as Tedesco's try. Tedesco's try was phenomenal that day. I'll never forget it. The emotion of the try is significant, and especially some of the dickheads that are in our chat right now, because they're the same dickheads with no life that still carry on about him. It's a lesson in life, Eddie, that you can sit there and you can talk about somebody, and you can be negative about somebody, but the reality is there's a reason he's being paid the money that those dickheads are jealous of. And there's a reason why in those moments he's the guy that's going to come up with that play. It's because class is permanent. It's because you earn that right in football through the things you do in your actions to put yourself in that position to come up with the big play, and he did that. People like, I'm not going to say all our fans. 95% of our fans are fantastic.
Internet fans.
Internet fans. The morons, they're my favourite word. The morons that just carry on, that are in our chat. If you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, go read our chat.
Live chat.
Those guys, our live chat that's going on at the moment. They're the morons, right? Who have got absolutely no idea about life. They're the guys, to me, who are going to be a part of why this club doesn't move forward. And I know that's extreme to say, but you cannot be a fan base that has these sort of opinions about our best players. And, yeah, I'm just I don't know whether I've said this before. I'm just happy for Jerome today. I'm so happy for him.
I was happy for Benji. You don't see that sort of emotion, but he got the sort of double fist pump after that Luai last try, because you would know yourself, and I know to a lesser degree even in cricket, like no one invests more time and energy in the result than the coach. And do you think that was a combination of just relief for the win, or he was just really pumped for Jerome, or a combination?
I think it was pumped for Jerome, to be honest. I think he sat there and went, in that moment, he sort of sat there and went, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you to have this moment, and I'm happy for you to say, I put my stamp on this game. And, I mean, we can sit there and we can criticise, and I'm reading a lot of the comments, and I've seen a lot of the comments already. It's, this is what we need from him all the time. Well, guess what? If everybody else does half a job, or maybe there's an opportunity for him to play well. I mean, our fans fall into the same thing as your Luke Keary's last week. We lost 68. Oh, Jerome, what did you do? Well, what did everybody else do?
But I actually thought that was just so out of character for Luke Keary, because I actually think he's been quite good. But I felt that was a bizarre time to go after Luai in a game where we barely crossed halfway. Anyway,
you want me to tell you what I think, Eddie? The honest truth is, Jerome Luai is a different character. He's an Islander boy who plays in the halves, that does things a little bit differently. It doesn't sort of fit the narrative of a lot of people. Like, he's not your typical, dinky die Aussie character. We don't like that flair here in Australia.
Yep.
I mean, unless so he doesn't fit the mold of the type of bloke we like, the knockabout bloke. People think he's arrogant, but he's most You watch him on TV, he's the most respectful person you'll ever see.
Someone that said that on TV the other day, that he's the one guy that, if they're signing autographs or whatever, is always extremely polite with parents or spends the most amount of time, but you rarely hear about that stuff.
And I'm going to have a crack, because then you get wankers like Luke Keary. And I think Luke Keary's got great opinions. I think I agree with you. Some of the things he says is great. But then he's the guy that had a sook and had a cry at South Sydney, left and went to the Roosters.
Well, he left Russell's farm, didn't he, in the middle of the night?
Yeah, he had a sook and a cry and went to the Roosters.
Well, Roosters weren't coming off 3 wooden spoons, were they, like us?
Correct. He went to a club and was, on the front foot from day one. I'd like to see anybody else do what Jerome did and go to a wooden spoon or a bottom of the table team and take that challenge head on. I don't see other people doing that.
I'm just so impressed by Benji, coach, even last week, and it's hard to wrap a coach when you get beat by 66-0, but I've seen young coaches in the past, like even thinking back to Trent Barrett and stuff, and you could tell those guys could obviously coach, but you could tell they could not handle the pressure of the media side of things, and like you could see it in the press conference, them getting emotional and angry, and I just thought Benji was so honest but calm last week. I know it probably doesn't surprise you, but just speak to his growth over the past few years. He just looks like a man that's really confident in his own skin. He probably has been his whole life, but he just looks like a career coach to me.
Yeah, and he's a coach that's not afraid of a challenge. I mean, the reality is he's in a position where he's been put in a position that other people struggle with. I mean, we're going to never know what type of coach. It's why I respect someone like Brad Arthur. Brad Arthur's been able to take teams from the bottom up. Like, I know, and I don't want to have a crack at other coaches. Other coaches fail when they've got lower ranked teams and not the same personnel, but then they achieve well when they're coaching teams with stacked squads.
Well, even like someone like Trent Robinson, you'd never really know. I mean, he took over the Roosters. But like
you'll never until that guy takes a challenge, a fair dinkum challenge of, going to a West Tigers, going to a Dragons. I mean, it's not to criticise; it's just the reality. I mean, even the great Wayne Bennett, he's been able to do it at multiple clubs, but there are some clubs where he struggled. But Benji, to me, hasn't seemed phased at all.
But you respect how much just the way he's had a crack, like because he could have been Cooper Cronk, like he could have earned as much money in the media as someone like Cooper, and Cooper's like fine in the media. He's really good on his Matty John show, but I think someone like Cooper, man, I wish you had a crack at this coaching because it's not half as easy as the media gig you do.
Yeah, and I think Benji's got a lot more I'm not going to say I'm not going to talk about other people. I think he's got such high integrity that the way he carries himself is really, really important for him. I also think from Benji's perspective, he sees how important this is. I mean, and I sort of alluded to Luai and being an Islander boy. Like, Benji's the only Māori coach in the NRL. I'm sure of that. I'm not sure if I've got that wrong, actually. I'm trying to think of anyone else. But, we've got a big representation of Maori and Pacific Islander players in the game. We don't have in coaching. So I think he feels a bit of a responsibility to be the representative from that perspective and show that I can do a job and other Pacific Islander players can evolve into coaching as time goes. And he's doing it his way. He's not being told how to do it. Like some of the garbage last week, I wasn't on last week, about Terrell May and get out of the media and stop doing social media. Shut the fuck up. Like, seriously. Some of the carry on around... Hey?
It's a lazy analysis, though. That's the way to go. That's where people go if you're not playing well. They go, oh, we shouldn't be on the podcast. He should be training 24 hours a day.
Well, yeah, what do you want to do? Go to training and sit at home and do nothing?
No, I don't disagree. Let's talk, before we do 3, 2, 1, let's talk about just some of the performance of the outside backs today. They put up some good numbers. Let's go with Strathfield Toa because I think he had over 100 metres at half time.
Yeah, and let's not forget Stafford when he was at Newcastle, started his NRL career. He played on the wing, so he's more than capable of playing on the wing. It might be the solution for us in the short term, basically playing him on the wing and having a bit of experience there and letting him just carry out a yardage and not have to make sort of one-on-one decisions from a centre perspective, but did his job.
Taylor May, that's the other thing I really respect about our boys this year. Like, I'm pretty sure in the NRL you still get paid the same amount of money if you choose to get a shoulder recon and sit out for the year. But here he is coming off a second dislocation for you, back out there after about 3 weeks after doing it.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to doubt the attitudes. Oh, Jesus, why do I read this chat? I should not read this chat. I don't want anyone to doubt the attitudes and the commitment of all our boys, because we know there was a period there where we know Uppy's been injured and barely able to train. Look at Taylor, look at AD pushing to come back. There was that period there where Jerome, I think someone told me Jerome didn't train for 2 weeks straight and was hobbling on one leg before our bye. So, yeah, the commitment of our players is incredible, and I'm so proud of the efforts that they've all had this year, especially our senior players.
Speaking of senior players, let's flip it to the forwards' performance today. Any standouts? Obviously, Terrell was extremely busy that first half. I think he had over 120 metres. I noticed, I haven't had time to look at the stats, but Sione was really aggressive today when he had the ball in his hand.
Mate, Leichhardt Oval. We can sit there and we can deny it, but I don't care what anyone says to me. The moment they play at that ground, everybody grows a leg. And it doesn't necessarily mean we win games, because we have lost there in the past. But you just see a different type of intent from all the players. And no, Eddie, let's not disrespect the man. Today's his day. Alex Seyfarth was our forward today. He was the man. Big Red.
Big Red himself. Who else is in that forward pack? But does that role suit Sione more through the middle?
Yeah, I think he went to the back row when KPP come off.
Right. Might have just had a few runs where he was angling back to the middle and he looked like he made contact in a yardage in contact.
Yeah, he's turning into a genuine first grader. I know you boys, I think Rob Senior doesn't like him playing on the back row. I don't mind it as much. I think a lot of that comes around some of the stuff that's going on inside him and outside him. But if he's playing on that left edge and Jerome's with him, I think we're fine defensively. And that's the other thing, I'm going to go back to Jerome for a second. That's the other thing I think our fans are really critical of is, and I think they are unfairly judged Jerome is, what about Jerome's defence this year? Because I think it's been outstanding. I mean, there's been a couple of moments that are typical of halves, but his left edge has always been really, really strong. So, yeah, anyways, I don't want to go back there again.
I forgot about Patrick Herbert because, Coach, if I was a neutral, I'd set my alarm for when Patrick Herbert's playing. Unfortunately, and I'm not bagging him here. I'm just saying he is an entertaining player because you just don't know what's going to happen. I think he's done a chicken wing this year. He's had a hip drop. He almost, I thought that was a borderline elbow. You could probably argue it was a palm. He got put on report in the end for it. But some of his carries are really strong. He does bring aggression to the game. I'll give him that.
Yeah, what I would do with Patrick Herbert is I would give him next week off.
Well, he might get suspended. He probably won't get suspended for that, actually.
Yeah, I'll give him next week off and then play him again in 2 weeks because what we learn about Patrick Herbert is, and that's understandable, is he doesn't play 2 good games in a row.
And is that is that probably because we're playing the red hot this back line in the comp, the Dolphins as well?
No, yeah, next week. I know we lost 68-0 last week. I'm not like other people. I still sit there and say, I don't care who we're playing. We can play Penrith again next week. As long as the first 10 minutes is 50% possession, the result will be different. I'm convinced of that. Like, nobody can argue with me about it because you won't change my mind. So it doesn't matter who we're playing next week and what we're coming up against. We just got to have equal possession early, and then we can find ourselves in the football game. I'm not afraid of that.
Our bench, he defended Latu before because he obviously had a couple of tough moments there defensively, playing out of position. I believe Tony Suka, he would have been injected to the game early. Was there any other comments on our use of the bench or our bench players today?
No, but I'm sitting there. If I'm on Benji's coaching staff, there you go, Rob. You guys, you're about to hear a criticism of Benji from me. I'd be sitting there and arguing with Benji. I would literally be
about what?
Challenging him about Latu. I think he needs to be our 7. Today proved it with Giuseppe. What you got to do is you just got to sit there and go, we've got to go after this year. And I just don't think Jock's going to be able to do the job for us at 7. We're not going to be able to. Yeah, we're not going to be able to defend teams. We've got to go with our best attack, and that's what it's going to be.
And is it even getting to the point, like, just thinking out loud here, I could be totally wrong, but just say he sticks with Jock at 7 and Appy comes back. Can we just let Latu go back to State Cup and play halfback? Because we're starting to damage him. He's starting to get head knocks in the middle and young. And I know he's tough and he's never going to complain and he does his job, but it went off again today with HIA.
Yeah, I just want to see him in 7. And I'm sitting there and arguing the point and arguing it with Benji. And he'll win the battle, obviously, but yeah. Can I read one of the comments? I'm really...
Yep.
Someone, and it's one of the dipshits, goes, you may have been a half, Adel, but I don't think you understand how good Seyfarth and our forwards went today.
We just talked about
Did I just not say that?
Well, you mentioned Seyfarth a few times during the show. I don't know. You might have just...
And he said, forwards do the hard works, the backs get the glory.
3-2-1 today, Coach. Who are you going with? Jerome was 3. Who was 2 and 1?
No, I gave Jerome 3.
Really?
Jerome 3. Yeah, Jerome 3, Jerome 2, and 1 point. Oh, Alex Seyfarth 1 point.
I can't agree with you giving Jerome 3 over Jerome, but maybe you just down.
Hey, I'm entitled to my opinion.
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Road ahead, Coach. We got the Dolphins on Saturday. You hate the word that it's a free shot because you think we can win every game. I mean, they're red hot at the moment, but we get Appy back. We'll lose KPP. So who do we start on that right edge?
Tony Suka will be the right edge.
And who's our bench hooker? Is it going to be... I know you said you'd play Latu at 7, but if Jock is at 7, would it be Latu off the bench or would it be young Giuseppe again? Or just Appy plays 80?
No, I think with the 6-man bench, you can play both. I think you'd have Latu, and I think Latu will, preferably from Benji's perspective, is to play him as a 13, where he comes on and does that role, and he's a backup half. I mean, we've seen times this year where Benji hasn't put out Latu on, so he doesn't necessarily think that he has to play him, but I think he feels like he can have a bit of an impact for us. But it all comes down to who's back next week. I mean, I'm not. Is it just AD we're potentially expecting next week?
Well, it wouldn't be Twal. Definitely wouldn't be Samuela. I can't even think of who else is injured. But if we get AD and Appy, you'd have to give us a chance at home, wouldn't you? Against a Dolphin side that is red hot, but anyone can have their off day.
Mate, I said this the other week. The Dragons beat the Broncos at Suncorp. Anyone can beat anybody. That's the reality.
Well, Coach, it's been an entertaining hour. It's been combative. We've probably made a few enemies during this hour, but
no, we didn't. We didn't make any enemies. 95% of our fans are good people. The 5%, someone actually had a crack at me saying, "Stop pretending to be God's appointed expert on life. Disagree with people. Stop doubling down on an idea just because someone disagrees." I don't. People can, of course, they can disagree. But when you come at our best player and our most important player and our captain, and you're personal and disrespectful, fuck you.
Well, thank you, Coach, for tonight. Stick around, people who are watching online, because we got the glory hunters coming in a minute. I'm sure they're outside probably having some cheese and caviar while we do the hard work. Rob, Steve and Gary, they'll be here in about 5 minutes. Coach, go and enjoy a bourbon or something. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, mate.